Welcome, everybody. This is Frame This Podcast. My name is Nate, and this is my co-host, Phil.
Hey, hey.
We are here with the ever wonderful, ever talented Chris Dudley.
Breathe, Nate. Breathe.
Oh,
breathe.
No,
breathe.
No, keep it going. Ever talented, ever lovely, ever handsome. Yeah, keep it rolling.
Ever rocking.
I once said he looked like a bearded David Bowie.
Wow, that's a compliment. But I
Am I
don't.
wrong?
No.
Okay.
Oh no, you're talking about me looking like a bearded David Bowie?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, you're for sure wrong. He's way too good looking to be ever compared with me.
What period, though? What period, Nate, of David Bowie, would you say?
I'd say
Thin
like
White Duke?
No, like late 90s.
Late. So that would have been.
So you're not talking like prestige David Bowie?
Just before that.
Okay, I back that. I mean, the dude is like a chiseled god. So I mean, the fact that there would even be a remote discussion of me looking anything like him, I'll take it. So yeah, continue with the flattery. Thank you.
There you go. I'm actually going to give you a chance to flatter yourself. Chris, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and what it is you do?
My name is Chris, and I'm a musician and a dad and a husband. I have played in a band called Underoath for the past 21 years, and I am a film composer, and I just like making music, and I get to do it as a career, and I get to pay my family's bills by making a bunch of music. So it's it's pretty sick.
That is the dream. Every artist's dream.
Yes.
Have you always been creative? Like, was there ever like a time in your life where you were not?
I think it honestly wasn't really until I hit my teenage years that I wasn't really creative at all. I don't think when I was younger. But I think really when I got into high school, that was when I started writing awful poetry and started playing guitar really badly. And that was really when I got to a point where I'm like, oh, I want to create something. Like I want to make something. Like I've always been just a huge nerd about music and movies in general. Just listen to music nonstop, watch movies nonstop. But it was never a thing that, I was like, oh, I want to do that, because it didn't really seem like an option for me. Because I grew up in, like a really small town, and there wasn't any sort of a music scene. There wasn't, people from our town didn't really do things like that. It was more so, hey, where are you going to go work? I wasn't really creative until I hit high school, and then, I became friends with some like-minded people, and they had started a band called Underoath and asked me if I wanted to join, and I played guitar really bad at the time, and they were looking for a keyboard player, and I was like, oh, well, I can play guitar bad, so I could probably play keyboard medium.
Less bad.
Less bad. So that was really that was it for me. Like it wasn't anything that I had really planned on doing for so long. It was just friends in high school, but then it was just a weird snowball, and here I am going to be 40 in no time, and just still doing it.
That's awesome.
Man. Yes.
So, you're from Florida, right?
Yeah. I was born in California, but then I moved to Florida when I was 9. Lived up near Gainesville. Okay. Until basically until I got married, I lived up there. And then so it's basically my formative years are all in Central Florida.
Are the rumors of the Florida man, are they true? Whenever you see like memes about Florida man doing X, Y, or Z, I'm curious.
Unfortunately, so many of the Florida men were the people that lived in my town when I was growing up. Many Florida men in that town. Lots of just shirtless antics going on and all kinds of craziness. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is true. I mean, I think that, you know, it's been a bit memeified, but you know, Florida can be pretty crazy sometimes. But you know, I've come to realize in recent years that, you know, it is home for me, and it will be, I think, for the duration. You know, me and my wife, we've lived other places a little bit, but basically once we had kids, we came back to Florida because, you know, family's here, and it's just this is our place, and you know, we're not going anywhere, I don't think.
That's awesome. It's really important. I think the more I hear about traveling and calling places home, it's really important to have that base camp to come back and rest. As someone who doesn't rest very well, that realization to me was very important.
Yeah, that's huge. And you know, I've always lived in a small town. Like we lived outside of Atlanta for a couple years, but you know, I grew up in a town called Williston in Florida, and there was like 3,000 people there. And then I live now in a town called Brooksville, which is not a whole lot bigger than that. But especially for as much as we have historically been on the road, and how much we've toured, and how much time I've spent away from home, and how hectic touring is, I like coming back to some place that's quiet and that there's nothing going on. And that, I found that fairly early on that I liked that. Like, I like just, you know, being able to walk outside and have it be dark and quiet and hearing crickets. Like, I enjoy that. So, yeah.
Sometimes silence, you know, is golden.
Oh, yes.
Especially when you're, you know, standing next to guitar amps or bass amps all day, or drums.
Yes.
As much as your friend plays drums. I know he probably hits drums the hardest out of anyone I've seen, and it might be on record somewhere. I don't know. Is there a Guinness World Record somewhere?
And I just stand right next to him all the time, and it's very loud. It's funny because even when we're on tour, I'm the guy that's like, after the show, take a shower, get some food, and then within like the hour, usually I'm in my bunk just watching a movie or something. I'm like, I just want quiet. I just want to like relax. So I don't know if that's just me like being old or what.
Speaking of wanting quiet, I remember when I saw A Quiet Place in theaters, there was a really tense moment, and the AC unit in the theater was humming its ass off. And I could tell the movie was supposed to be completely quiet, but up in the left corner, there was like this AC unit, this fan just going. And I was just like, it is ruining this for me. I want silence.
How great was that movie, though?
I'm still waiting for number 2.
Now I'm putting 2 and 2 together that the movie was supposed to be quiet.
Yeah. The silence the silence is a character.
Whoops.
No, that movie is so good. Like, one thing I loved, not to go off on a tangent about A Quiet Place, but one thing I loved about that is how they started it off. Not, you know, to not spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but there's something big that happens within the first 10 minutes. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about with the.
Have you seen it, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the thing that happens right in the beginning, I remember seeing it in the theater because I don't watch trailers normally, so because I like to just go in stuff blind, so I didn't really know exactly what the deal was, but there's this thing that happens, and I remember thinking specifically, oh, this is going to be that kind of movie. Like, they did something that in my head was really ballsy because it's not something you normally do. And I was just like, oh, cool. Okay, they're going for it. Like, and I was in from that point. I really like that movie a lot.
Jim from The Office is a messed up dude.
John Krasinski.
He can direct, man. I'm stoked to see that second one. Hopefully it's as good.
We've been waiting for it.
Did you hear? I nerded out pretty hard about that movie when it came out, but read this interview, or no, it was an interview with the writers, the co-writers that was on, I think it was on the Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith, that podcast.
Yeah.
And they had mentioned that they had been trying to get the movie made for a bit, and they were pitched for that film to be a Cloverfield movie. Because I forget whatever studio they were talking to. The studio was like, "This is a great idea, but we want to attach some sort of IP that people know. Would you be interested in this being like a Cloverfield movie?" And they were like, "No, like we want it to be like its own thing." And I think I love hearing that stuff about how development of different projects goes in different directions, and that easily could have been a Cloverfield movie if they had just said yes, and they probably would have had a much larger budget. So that's interesting to think about.
Well, speaking of how projects evolve and how things develop, how have you taken your stuff you do with, 4 other guys and then developed into movie scores and compositions?
It's a pretty long. Well, 5 other guys, but that's okay.
There's
Thank
6.
you.
No,
Thank you.
we've got one too many people in the
Thank
band.
you.
And I'm not saying I'm that guy, but
I'm gonna go cry now.
no, it's fine.
Tell that to Slipknot.
Finally, we'll get dog shit comments on the internet about our podcast. I can't wait.
There we go. That means you made it.
Exactly.
No, I mean that's it's a pretty long answer, but to not ramble on too long about it, like I said, I've been
We have all the time in the world.
Oh, there we go. Okay, well then I'll just ramble on. No, like I said, I've been just a film nerd since really I can remember. Just I don't know what it has always been. There's just been something about seeing a film in a theater or at home or anything where there's just a love for that I've never really tried to put into words. Like I remember being in middle school and high school and not having money to rent a movie, but still going to the video store and just walking up and down the aisle and like looking for like the movie that I was going to rent when I actually did have money. And it's just it goes back super far. But when Underoath became a thing that we realized was going to be a career, I never was like, oh, okay, well then I'm going to like score films. It was like I had this career in music, and then I had this love for watching film, and I had this love for film music. But the two hadn't really intersected at all. But there were certain films and there were certain scores that I would hear, and like there would just be this little like thing in the back of my head of like, man, like that's really cool. Like I wonder how one would do that. Like I wonder if I could ever do that.
Any examples of that? That was one of my other questions. So I was just curious.
Yeah. For me, John Murphy is a direct that's a direct correlation between me playing music in Underoath and deciding to write music for film. Like he did the score for 28 Days Later, and he did the score also for 28.
Gosh.
Yeah. He also did. Yeah. And he did the score for 28 Weeks Later as well. And those two scores were a big deal for me. And I knew that he had come from a rock background. So I had kind of had I don't want to say like a fascination with him, but I was really just like, wow, like that guy, like he wasn't a classically trained composer. He came from a rock background and then kind of figured out how to do it. And then we had a day off, on tour, and everybody wanted to go see Hot Rod. But this shows how long ago it was.
Also a classic.
Yeah, but
Overrated
I just didn't have any
mind.
desire to go see it. Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't have any desire to go see that. So me and the merch guy for the band that we were with, I'll never forget, we went and saw Sunshine. Danny Boyle directed that as well, and John Murphy did the score. And that was a film, I walked out of that. That was the first thing that I had walked out of saying, I now want to do that. And it was honestly years before I really took any steps to doing it. It was just more so me realizing like, okay, I think this is something that I could do. I just have to figure out how to do it. And then one night, this was early 2017, I think. I was in bed with my wife and we were watching TV, we were watching a movie, and I was just like, man, I really want to like figure out how to, write music for film. Like, I think that would be something that would be really enjoyable. I don't know how exactly it would happen, and I don't know how to do it. And she just said, well, why don't you just say you're doing it and then see if anything comes of it. Like you've got, a bit of a, you've got I'm not like famous or anything, but you have people that know what you do. Like just
not famous.
Well, not like real famous, not like, not like real famous people famous.
We saw Faith Plus One. It's Christian music famous. There's a difference.
Yeah. I've got like 9 Mirror records. It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, but
Nate.
No, and then so I did that. I just said I went on Twitter and Instagram, and I just said that we were going to have some time off from the road. So I said I was opening my studio up for writing projects. So if there was anybody who had an album or a video game or a film or anything they wanted music for, just to hit me up. And then from that point on, it was basically a really long story snowball of meeting one guy and then, getting introduced to this other guy. And, it's been years of that now. And, yeah, it's been amazing. Like it's wild.
How does you're not writing like 4 and 5 minute songs for these movies. How does the planning process for like a film score differ from the arrangement of a record or a song on a record? Like, how do you start that?
It really couldn't be any more different. Like it is a completely different thing. Like, when we're writing for Underoath, whether I'm writing on my own or if I'm writing with the guys, it's literally just hey, like, what do you want to write? Like, what would sound cool? And then we just noodle until something like, strikes a chord and we're like, oh, that's cool. Like, let's chase that.
Is noodle a technical term?
Oh, we're super technical in our band. If you heard the discussions we have about writing music, it's literally just, hey, that thing that go no, like play that thing again. Like we have no real knowledge of anything when it comes to writing. We just
you guys don't take sevenths and then chain them together.
Oh, we could not be further from that.
Counterpoint.
When we hear bands that actually know what they're talking about and really like getting into the terminology, it's like the Homer Simpson backing into the bushes thing. That's us in those conversations.
Maybe that's why I couldn't talk about that stuff with any of the guys at Warped Tour that I met. I thought I was looking like an idiot, but okay.
Yeah, no,
maybe
that would
we
have
just
been
weren't
us.
speaking the same language.
Yeah.
And I was going over their head.
You got to talk about noodling and uggas, and then they might know you're,
Yeah, all you just say, hey, that part. Yeah, hey, that part, that thing that goes like down, 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 like that thing's really cool. Yeah, that's what we can understand. Yeah.
Anyway, planning process. I'm sorry to
go on a
tangent.
Sorry, I totally forgot. What was I saying? Yeah. So it's completely different. So, that's how it works when I'm writing with Underoath or writing for Underoath. But doing stuff for a film, it's, I'm thankful that the films that I've done thus far, every one of them except for one, I was brought in the script phase. Before I saw anything, it was literally, me talking to the director, knowing what the plot is, knowing what the character arcs are, having discussions about what we want the vibe to be. And from there, we really just, we decide, okay, what instruments do we want? What do we want this to sound like? What do we want this to not sound like? And based on that, that's kind of what steers the boat in the general direction. But then it really comes down to having a scene or having a moment and realizing like, okay, what exactly do we need for this section, for this specific beat? Like, what do I need? Like, what instruments do I need to stay away from? What chord progressions do I need to lean toward versus against? And it's really a balancing act of, just trying to not screw it up, because, the wrong music can really just kill no matter how good a film is, if it's got bad music, like it just is not, you can't come back from that. So so it's just a lot of talk. Like, I'm thankful that the directors that I've worked with are as communicative as I am. So like, it's literally just text conversations. Like, I'll send like a voice note of a thing I'm working on, and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. Like, but what if the violin was the main thing, or, whatever the discussion happens to be about the part. But it's a lot of discussion, because basically I'm hired to bring someone else's vision to fruition, and not just like, oh, I'm going to write something I think is cool. It's like, I need to write something that is specifically for this, this emotion or this scene or whatever. So, yeah.
Is less more these days when it comes to scores?
I think it really depends on the film. It's funny because I did a film late last year, and it was pretty, I'd say it was pretty dense with score. Like, there was a lot of score heavy moments, and sort of like montage moments, slow motion stuff. And I am now starting the process of doing that director's next film, and it's the exact opposite. Like, it's a very quiet film, like very dialogue driven, and like I'm probably writing less than a quarter of the amount of music for this new one than I did the last one. So it really depends on what it is you're going for. I think that, you've got some directors and some composers that can do really big, bombastic scores. And if it's for the right film, then it's, it works. But I guess it just depends on what you're going for,
Have there been any, like my Quiet Place air conditioning experience? Have there ever been any times where you're watching a movie and you can like picture different music in your head, but what they have doesn't really fit the mood, so to speak?
Yes, that actually just happened.
Does that bother you?
Last night? Like, it doesn't happen very often. I normally, like, I consciously just try to go in like not thinking about that stuff. Like, I like to just watch movies as movies. But I saw a movie 2 nights ago, and the score was very distracting. Like, I was completely taken out of the moment, because I'm not gonna say what the movie was, because I don't want to highlight things that I don't like. But it completely took me out. And I was watching it with my wife, and she said the same thing. She's like, what are they doing with the music? And it wasn't like they were trying to do something like, it's not like they were shooting for the stars with an idea and it was just not my taste. It was like, you could tell exactly what they were trying to do, and it just didn't work. But I would say that doesn't happen very often to me. Like, I love just taking films for what they are. And even if, I might not, vibe with the score, I just look at it as, okay, that's what this world is. That's what this world sounds like. And, I think a semi-recent example of that is Uncut Gems, because I know there's a lot of people that don't like that score. But
I haven't seen it yet. It's on my watch list.
It was.
Don't give me that.
You should.
It's on my
give
list.
It a watch.
It's on my.
It is extremely good. Like,
my
extremely good.
It was really good.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of the best movies I've seen in the past few years, I think.
Shout out to Toby.
Not to oversell
Is that Toby?
Galen.
Oh, sorry, Galen. Younger.
Shout out to Galen.
Oh. Man, Galen's gonna. Yeah. Keep going.
No, yeah, Galen, he sounds like a cool guy, and he sounds like he has good taste in movies too. So maybe I should hang out with that guy someday.
His taste varies.
Oh boy.
Okay, so the funny thing is he is also a music producer. So that connection would be great.
So you're saying Toby has no taste? When I said shout out to Toby.
I've never been a big fan of Toby personally, but I mean, different strokes, I guess.
No, I'm always the one dying first in Call of Duty Warzone. So I'm the asshole.
I have 4 younger brothers, and they're all very different people.
Not to derail the fun we're having. So when movies have no sound, and composers have gone back and put film scores to them, and written stuff. Has that something you ever been interested, like taking an old silent film like Nosferatu or Vampire and like sat down and been like, I wonder if I wrote something like this and premiered it for someone, or a small group of people or something like that, to just noodle around. Noodle.
Yeah, that's actually how I started, because I didn't know how to score anything. Like, I'd never done it. And I think as with anything, if you've never done it, you just have to practice. So I scoured the internet and found a lot of scenes from either old films. Some of them didn't have score, and a lot of them were films that that had the score taken out. So I don't know how that happened, but I've got an entire Dropbox worth of scenes. Some movies some movies you wouldn't, but none of them have score to them. And I just wrote music to those scenes. And I think that's, it's not something that I would do necessarily, as something I would release, but it's a great exercise in just, you have one scene and then you say, okay, like, how many different ways could I score this? Like, what works and what doesn't. So if anybody's listening to this and that's something that they would find helpful, I could save you a lot of time and just send you the Dropbox link to the scenes, because that was a huge thing for me, because I did a lot of really awful sounding stuff before I figured out kind of what I should do.
Yeah, that's what I was actually
now I
want
to hear it.
Like, yeah, yeah. Pro tip, everyone, find some scenes on the internet without scores and score them yourself and see what happens.
It's like
they're not they're not super hard to find, like, but I wanted a lot of them, so I've got a whole slew of them. So yeah, if anybody hears this and wants them, just hit me up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are there any other like pieces of advice you would give someone like just starting out in the film scoring industry? I mean, everybody hears like practice all the time, but what does that mean?
Oh, I mean, I actually heard what's his face? Singer-songwriter, red hair, Ed Sheeran. Yeah, I heard him put it a really good way. He said, you have to look at, if you're starting out doing anything, just look at it as turning on a faucet in an old house. He was like, the first, like, however much water is going to come out, it's just going to be brown. It's going to be garbage water. He's like, but you have to get through that in order to get to the good stuff. He's like, and no matter what, just accept that the first however much you do is going to be awful. And then once you get through that, then you'll actually get to good stuff. Hold on one second.
Cut.
There you go. Sorry, my wife needs keys.
A bunch of texts, so
okay.
when you're done.
Okay. But no, so I think that's a big one. Just recognizing that when you start off, whether it's film scoring, no matter painting, whatever it is, your first a lot of stuff is not going to be good, but just accept that as part of the process and move through it. Like, don't get frustrated that you're not good at it at first. Just accept that you won't be. And also, one of the biggest turning points for me in my, it sounds like heady saying it, but in like my creative process was because I used to only really write when I was like inspired. Like I would just have to feel it in order to write something. But I read this interview with Woody Allen, and he was talking about, because he was asked, like, how are you so prolific? Like he's always got a new movie coming out. He's always writing. He's always directing. And he said that he just tells himself, I'm going to write for X amount of hours a day. And then he was like, 70% of what I write is going to be garbage, but that 30% would not have come out if I just waited to be inspired. If I just waited around to, feel like writing. And I started implementing that. And I'd say my ratio is probably the same, if not a little worse. Like I'd say I probably keep about, 20 to 30% of what I write, but like I just sit down and say, okay, I'm now going to write for the next 4 hours, even if I don't feel like it. And I kind of look at inspiration as like, I compare it to like if you're on a boat, and if you're like, say you're on a sailboat, inspiration is kind of like the wind. Like you catch it when it's going, but most of the time you're going to have to be paddling, and
right.
And when the inspiration comes, put the sails up and ride it. But like, don't rely on that.
Got to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Got to make it happen.
Yes.
So we started doing this thing on our podcast website where for each of the artists' bios, I try to have like a little quote or a blurb. So I've been getting better at like writing down the timestamps when they happen. And
good idea.
That last piece about the sailboat, I think, would be really good to post.
It'll make me sound super smart.
I know, right?
Do I have Kansas in my head right now? Was that it? Was it Kansas? Come sail away.
What is it? I don't think it was Africa, right?
No, it was not Africa.
No. Oh, that's
Toto.
Toto.
That's Toto.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know who does that. Come sail away.
Yeah,
I don't know who does that.
Okay.
Everybody knows the song, though.
Everybody knows. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything.
Do you not know this song we're talking about?
I do not know that song. I know Africa. I don't.
Nate didn't grow up listening to classic rock stations.
Yeah, I grew up under a rock right next to Patrick Starr.
Now I want to do somebody's Patrick Starr impression, but I'll save that for a rainy day.
No, this is Patrick.
Never talking to that person again.
So you were talking about working regardless of motivation. When I'm drawing, I do a lot of my work digitally, as do you. And I have essentially what is like a digital version of my artist toolkit. How do you, like, aside from instruments that you have like in your head based on the mood that you're going for, how do you like decide on the right tool? Because digital stuff is like literally endless and the possibilities. Like, how do you narrow it down?
It's usually if I'm working on film stuff, it's usually determined by whatever film I'm working on. Like a film I did not long ago it was like a Depression era thriller. So it takes place in the 20s. So I couldn't use anything really electronic. Like it had to be like stringed instruments and headed instruments, woodwinds. So that was easy. The last film I did, we had determined that it was all going to be like a synth score. So that made that easy. But even within that, you can just be paralyzed by the amount of options even there. It's like, okay, write a synth song. It's like, well, I've got 95 synths. Like, what do I, how do I narrow that down?
What do I choose?
Yeah. And what I do is I really just, I put artificial barriers on that. I'll find an instrument and I'll just say, okay, I'm now going to write this with this thing, or I'm at least going to get the basic idea with this thing. Because there's been many times where I'm just looking at my screen and I see the stuff that I've got to choose from, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like and I think that's even harder when I'm writing for Underoath, because I can literally just use whatever I want and write whatever I want. So there's no limit on that. So that's all self-imposed limitations. But I think you kind of have to do that, because you could just be paralyzed by the amount of choices and not get anything done.
So this might be a little bit too
today?
technical of a question. I love technical
That's my Jim Ross impression.
That was good. I was actually just listening to him today.
Girl and JR?
It was newer JR. He was doing this thing with Stone Cold and CM Punk. He was like doing like a fake interview with them, and yeah, he seemed kind of into it, but not super into it.
Love me some AEW.
Yeah.
Love.
Not a big wrestling fan.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'll watch UFC.
We're going to watch Royal Rumble 97 after we're done here, so get ready.
Y'all are ridiculous.
So cold! So cold! So cold!
When you hear that glass,
it was 316
it's your
a couple
ass.
days ago. 316. Anyway,
It was just 316.
I know.
It was Steve Austin Day.
No, it's Pi Day, you turd.
I went around the.
No, it is Steve Austin Day. It always has been, always will
I
be.
went around my office and I went, guys, guess what? You know what day it is? Phil, no, we don't. Steve Austin Day. Want to get stunned? What? Just kidding. No.
Just running around stone cold.
Yeah.
Stone cold. Good God, he's got a family.
Could I use you as a soundbite in my other podcast? Because I've been trying to get a clean JR doing that for my other podcast.
I could. Yeah. Feel free to cut that out. You've got my permission.
Yes.
Chris Dudley has approved this message.
All right, Nate. Sorry for derailing things.
Y'all suck. I'm trying to conduct an honest interview here.
Maybe that's what I should have done at Warped Tour. Gone around and talk about wrestling.
Oh, you would have made a lot of friends for sure.
We might even have gotten Andy Williams on this podcast.
There's still time.
There's still
Nate.
time.
There's still time.
There is still time.
Anyway, so digital brushes, digital instruments, and okay. Question that when you once you get like your base layer down, your auditory sketch, so to speak, like how do you go about like adding layers to it? Like where do you go from there? Because you can edit it however you want. So let's say, like with it, you were talking about Whelm, I'm assuming, with your minimalist string score. Would you ever go back over stuff like that with electronics and mix it, or do you try to keep them separate as far as like the editing goes, like the production afterwards?
I wouldn't go back and change any of that. Like, I think the most I would do is probably go back into those sessions, because a lot of those songs specifically for that film, and a lot of other films I've done, the stuff that ends up in the film is like a shorter version of something that's longer. So I would maybe go back and like have the longer version and then like release that at some point, for a score. But I'm not really into, going back and changing stuff and, making it different. But, as far as the question about, how do you layer stuff, it's on a part by part and song by song basis. Sometimes a song will start with a rhythm idea. Sometimes it'll start with just a sound that I think is cool. But I really try to not layer too much, but I have to be conscious of that, because my natural inclination is just continually add layers until, honestly, a lot of times stuff just kind of starts to sound muddy because there's like 15 tracks on one thing, and I'm like, all right, I need to like pare it down. And I think that a lot of that is just trial and error, figuring out EQ stuff, making sure that, not competing frequencies, and that's kind of getting into the weeds, but I just it's all subjective, obviously. It's art, so I just do it to where I think it sounds cool. And you're kind of always learning new techniques along the way, so yeah.
Do you ever I think they're called Foley artists, like the people that that create sound effects for film, like FOLEY.
Yeah.
Do you ever like incorporate stuff like that into your work, or is it all?
No, I do for sure. Yeah, like I
was hoping you'd say that.
Oh yeah. I love just fun sound design stuff. Like for the last film I did, we wanted it to sound like Florida, because the film takes place in Florida. So I went in. We were talking about like, what does Florida sound like, and we had landed on cicadas and window air conditioners. Like, we felt like that was kind of, that encapsulated what Florida sounds like. Yeah.
The nature. I'm definitely the nature side of Florida. I think Florida has a lot of sounds to it.
What do alligators sound like?
Depending on where you are in Florida, it has a lot of sounds. Alligators sound. Alligators hiss.
Yeah. You don't hear that usually too much until it's too late, though. So I tried not to incorporate a whole lot of that. But yeah, I did go around and I recorded some window AC units and some cicadas, and I kind of turned that into some stuff.
That's cool.
And there's actually Foley artists that they sell libraries, like really talented Foley artists, and you can buy their recordings, the master recordings, and then you can make stuff out of those. And I think that's always a really fun thing, because so many times these guys, they're just so good at getting good source sounds that even if it's just a footstep or like a banging on, a desk or something, they've got just ridiculous equipment that makes it sound great. And not to go too nerdy, but they'll record it in 192K. So basically what that means is you can take a very small part of the sound and you can stretch it so far because the file size is so big, the sample rate is so big, you can just stretch it as far as you want. So you can take like a snap and you could stretch it out to like 20 seconds and it just sounds like just like some kind of drone or something. And I love experimenting with that stuff. That's a ton of fun.
What is the weirdest thing you Foleyed? Is that the right verb form of that?
I love this one. So
that was the question I wanted to ask, but I had to clarify that you've done Foley work before. This one.
No, actually,
not gone around with a stick and started banging on things and people going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that happened when I was working on Whelm. I knew that I wanted. This was super late one night. I knew that I wanted an interesting rhythm for a certain section, but I knew it couldn't be anything electronic. And throughout the film, up until that point, I had this big plastic tub about that big of like the Chex Mix that's covered in like frosting. I don't know what you call that. It's just the good stuff.
The real good stuff.
And I was eating out of it, and as I was trying to figure out what this rhythm thing was going to be, I put the top on the plastic tub and it made like a cool sound, and I was like, wait a second. So I literally just ate the rest of the Chex Mix. So I had to empty it out, before I could use it.
Oh, obviously.
And then I got some brushes, like drum brush sticks, and I mic'd up this snack container of Chex Mix, and that was the rhythm for the entire section. And when I sent it to the director, and he was like, "Oh, this sounds really cool. Like, what is that?" And I sent him a picture of my Chex Mix
Your
thing.
setup.
What microphone did you use?
I do not remember. Yeah, dang. Sorry.
I wanted to nerd out for a second.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good one. I don't own very many good microphones. I think it may have been the mic that's on my H1N, maybe. I think I might have done that with just like a field recorder.
Nice.
But now the thing with that though is now I can't get rid of that plastic tub because I might
use it again.
Use it in the future. So I just have it just sitting. Yeah, it's now one of my tools. So I keep this stuff laying around now. And also for Whelm, my wife was doing some renovation in our kids' room while I was working on it, and she had my daughter's like the metal frame to her bed was leaned up against the wall in my studio while she was working on something, and I was like raking on these springs with a drumstick, and it sounded really cool, and I was like, oh, now I got to use this, and I mic'd that up, so now that's another thing that we can't get rid of. And yeah, so in another like 10 years, I'm just gonna have a garage,
a warehouse,
it's just gonna look like just a bunch of garbage. I'm like, no, don't get rid of the crumpled up piece of paper. I used that on that thing.
Man, hoarders. That's the new inspiration for hoarders.
Yeah, I'm just working my way there. I'm not quite to an age where I can be a hoarder yet, but give me another like 10 years and I'll be there. Don't worry.
If you found a use for a stack of Nat Geos, I think that would elevate you to hoarder status.
All of the hoarders have Nat Geos. Like that's just a given.
Speaking of themes and sounds, I noticed behind you have a outstanding collection of masks from horror movies. Do you have a favorite theme or sound from a horror film that like every time you hear it like your hairs on your back, your neck, like stand up, like you just love it?
Ooh, boy.
The Predator clicks.
Predator clicks are great.
So for me, it's one theme is going to be Halloween, forever and always. That's my favorite. But also when you hear Michael Myers, just the breathing in the mask, that always has like made my just that sound, like you know he's coming, you hear him coming, you don't see him, but you hear the breathing, and you're just like, oh man, oh, where is he? Like, I love that. It's so simple though. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's wild how that stuff can just permeate. Like, I'm sure that when they were making that film, they were like, hey, this is going to be like an iconic thing. They were just like, oh, it's a POV shot, we need to have some breath sounds in there. But man, so many. For me, like the score for The Shining, I really, really like. The theme for Exorcist, I think it'll just always be frightening. The sound of the big wheels on the floor in The Shining has always been one that like sticks with me. As far as sounds go, man, now that I'm put on the spot, I really can't put my finger on anything, but that's only because you just asked me. I'm sure that like later tonight I'm going to be like, oh yeah, this thing is the sickest, but I'm bad at that. But no, the masks I have are, some of them are like screen use from movies. Some of them are just ones that I collected. Some of them were gifts. And some of them I just I bought because I thought they were cool.
You're going to be on the last drive-in someday with Joe Bob. Trust me.
Oh, what a dream that would be.
Just wait. You'll be there. Dude, and I'll be watching with my four kids because my girlfriend
so much. Oh man.
When's the new season? I'm out of the loop.
Soon. I think it's in April. Yeah. Super pumped. I love that. I mean, it's interesting how
please turn this guy onto horror movies. Please. I'm
well, I mean, I don't know, but horror's such a weird thing because there are so many people who will just like something because it's horror, but they view it as, oh, well, if there's a horror movie and you don't like it, then you don't like horror movies. Like I think I'm as picky with horror as I am with anything else, whether music or anything. It's like there's a lot of good stuff and there's a lot of just really bad stuff. Like I just like good stuff. Like, I think a film like, Hereditary or It Follows, like those films are just objectively great films, whether or not they're horror films. But it's weird, going back to the Joe Bob thing. Like I remember when Shudder brought that to the service, because I used to watch Monster Vision all the time when I was younger, and I didn't realize how much of a comfort that was to me until they brought it back on Shudder, because I was watching it. It was late at night, and I just felt like I was, 13 again, in my bedroom on a Friday night, like by myself, just in this zone and just like seeing something new. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I think that just kind of goes back to my love of movies anyway, but it just felt like everything was like, oh, this is the way it should be,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've recently got into, horror movies from like Thailand, like old, like ones in the 80s. What was I watching the other day? Black Queen. Really famous actress. And now I'm totally blanking. See,
it's like me with my sounds. Yeah. So do you not like horror movies just as a rule, or it's just you're just not really into certain ones, or
This is the best day ever. This is the best day ever.
Some that I've seen that I enjoyed. I liked The Shining. I liked Get Out. I like Silence of the Lambs. That's more of a thriller. I've been meaning to watch both Midsommar and Hereditary because I've heard as films they were very good. It's not horror movies that I dislike. I don't like being scared on purpose unless there's a reason for it. And so I grew up in the early 2000s when the horror craze was just all slasher films that were remakes of better movies from like the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until recently when horror movies actually started getting touted as good films that I became interested.
I'll have to send you a list of ones that have you seen It Follows?
No.
Yeah, you should add that to your list. Definitely Hereditary. I mean that the list would go on and on, but
here's mine.
Oh, is that your list for him?
Your horror list?
No, this is my list for me.
Like to watch or that you have watched?
Some that I've watched, some that I haven't watched. I got
a list too. Where's my phone?
I have like Rosemary. The first one's Rosemary's Baby. Still haven't watched it yet.
It's good. It's on
my list, and like I gotta watch it just because of Polanski, and it's just a great film.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Brood I have on here. Have I seen that yet? I think I might have seen that.
Oh, there's a brewery in Tampa that just played that the other night for free, like at their place, but I wasn't able to make it, and I was so bummed. I wanted to go to that.
Thank you, Last Drive-In, for letting me watch Cannibal Holocaust, because that was on here, and I need to take that off.
There you go.
Videodrome, Black Christmas I've seen. I got to take that off the list. Night of the Demon, Hour of the Wolf. It Follows is still on here. I think I've seen it, but I might not.
Oh, you'd remember if you saw it.
Yeah,
I think.
Which horror movie would you rewatch for the first time, if you could?
Boy. I don't know if it counts. It counts, yeah. I mean, I think that The Shining and The Exorcist might be my favorite horror movies, but when I saw The Sixth Sense in the theater when it came out, that was like a real
at the height of his plot twist career.
Yeah, that blew my mind. So I might say that just because that was just such a fun. Oh, also, I don't think it counts as a horror movie, but in a similar fashion. Did you see Split by chance?
Yes.
I have not.
Okay.
You want to see one dude play like 70 people? It's great.
Yeah. So not to spoil it, I mean, I'm sure most people know the deal with Split now.
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody knew what the deal with Split was, and it's not until the last 5 seconds of the movie where everything shifts into focus and you realize what it is that you're watching. And dude, I literally just put my hands up. I was like, yes, I was so pumped. And that's not a horror movie, so that doesn't count. But yeah, that was a great theatrical experience.
I miss those.
Mine, if I had to watch it for the first time again and feel what I felt as because I did the same thing in, well, I didn't have Monster Vision, but in middle school, every Saturday, I'd go rent a movie from Blockbuster. If people listening still know what Blockbuster is, that would be cool. And I'd rent Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all the 80s. The one for me definitely would be if I got to watch Halloween over again and experience what I felt.
It's interesting, though, because you're thinking about when you watched it for the first time when you were a kid or when you were younger and what you felt. And I was thinking about that with The Shining, because when I was younger, I didn't like The Shining at all, because I was going to say, oh, well, The Shining is my favorite horror movie, so I'd want to watch that again for the first time. But I would want to watch it again for the first time as an adult. I would not want to re-experience what I thought when I watched it as a kid, because I just didn't like it back then. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a horror movie, but I think for me, if I could choose one movie to go back and watch again for the first time, it would probably be Sunshine, because that was such a big deal, and that was such a formative theatrical experience for me.
That's like the astronauts in space that are experiencing the solar flare, right? And they all go crazy. With like Cillian Murphy, I think.
Yeah.
I think is Sam Rockwell in that, or is that Moon?
No, that's Moon.
Moon's
really good too. Yeah. No, Sunshine is like it's brilliant.
Is that Danny Boyle?
Good.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I have it on Blu-ray. I could go.
You should lend it to him. Have you not seen it?
Not all the way through. It was on TV.
You should watch it. It's very good. My wife doesn't like it for the exact same reasons that I really like it. Like, she said that it makes her feel really uncomfortable because she feels like isolated and like cold and alone, like all the things that the movie's supposed to make you feel. And I was like, yeah, like that's why I like it. Like, yeah, it's so good.
Nate, do you want to watch The House of the Devil tonight?
We can take a look.
I haven't seen that yet. I heard it's good. Yeah, I know.
Whatever. After this, after you get us off with us two knuckleheads, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it.
All right. Well, I'll take that. I've heard multiple people say that it's great. So I need to watch it. You've seen not to just go off on just recommending stuff to each other for the rest of the night, but have you seen Train to Busan?
Yep.
Nope.
That's a fun one, Nate. I think you'd enjoy that.
Good. I'm down. B-dubs and Train to Busan.
No, it's another. It's just objectively a phenomenal film. Like, the characters are great. The plot is great. It's acted superbly. The effects are insane. It's crazy action. Like, I could not recommend that movie more. Like, they did a sequel. I haven't seen the sequel yet, but the first one is just, yeah, it's great.
I didn't know they made a sequel. That's cool.
Yeah, it's called Peninsula. Yeah.
Nate, so I think you'd actually enjoy that.
I've heard good things.
It's more than just, just not to spoil it for everyone, zombies. It delves more, into human beings and, at our
fatherhood
core, what we
and
are. Yeah.
I think it hit me hard because I am a dad, so like there was kind of that whole thing going on, and so when I was watching it, it was tugging at me.
I had a question on the tip of my tongue.
Man, I never thought I'd be doing this right now. There's some things in life you just never think you'd be doing, but you're doing it.
What?
I was just chatting with movies with Chris here.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't think that I'd be doing this either. Like, if you asked me like a month ago, like, hey, are you gonna be doing this podcast with these dudes? I'd be like, I don't know, maybe. So hey, life's crazy, right?
Life's crazy.
Yeah, this whole project
from Lynchburg to now.
Oh yeah, that's right. We saw you guys in Lynchburg on your Race Me tour with Limbs and DGD.
Oh, nice. What venue was that? I don't
Phase
remember.
2. It was one.
Wow, you remembered? Oh.
It's the only venue in Lynchburg.
There's more venues in Lynchburg.
Phase 2. Is that in a casino?
Yes.
Kinda, yeah. There's like the big like fenced in stage area, and then there's like around the perimeters where there's like all the merch and stuff.
It is connected to a casino, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, I know which one you're talking. Yeah, I remember that show. That show was great. I had a great time at that show.
Yeah, we managed to get up front, which is really cool. And I'm still talking to Josh Kowalski and Daniel Nelson. Like,
oh, they're great.
Yeah,
me and Daniel go back and forth all the time because we're both like synth nerds.
Yeah,
and so we're always just talking about like what it is that we want. And he just got a Moog grandmother.
Yeah, I saw it on his Instagram. I was like, that looks amazing.
Yeah, and I just ordered it was like 3 weeks ago. I ordered an Arturia Polybrute, which, unless you're like a synth nerd, you probably don't know what it is, but it is like the mother of all synths. but it's going to be another month before I get it because they're all like handmade in France, so it's taken forever. But me and him were just texting like 2 days ago, and we were saying that once I have my Polybrute for like a month, we're going to swap because he lives not far from here.
Okay.
So we're just going to swap keyboards for like, a couple weeks, so I get to play with his Moog and he gets to play with my Polybrute. And yeah, I just love that. Like I wish that I knew more people that just had really cool hardware that I could just borrow or trade. Because yeah, I've said for a while that should be like a service, like a thing where you have a piece of equipment. Anybody who hears this, feel free to steal this idea, but you have a piece of equipment, you put it on the service, you say, okay, this thing is worth, say, $800 to $1,000. That's a tier. And then anybody else who has something that's worth $800 to $1,000, you can like match up with them, almost like a dating site, and you say, hey, let's trade equipment for X amount of weeks. You have an agreement, you have a thing, terms and conditions where you have to pay for shipping or whatever it is, but then I get your piece of equipment and you get mine for a period of time, and then we trade back. And dude, if you could do
Tinder,
that, I would be
Tinder for synth heads.
Oh, or any sort of gearhead, like guitars, heads. I think guitar pedals would be a huge one because people who are like really into pedals, they just always want new pedals. I'm going to see some here. Here we go.
This is my rinky dink bass pedal board, but it works.
It's a nice rack.
So how much would you use a service like that? Like if you could just literally just trade pedals with people all the time, like, because I found, especially with pedal guys, they tend to get bored with pedals. Like they're like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but I want to try something new. And it's like, rather than spending hundreds of dollars every however long, just
if you could figure out a way
stuff.
to like manage shipping, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if
I do too.
Because
camera lenses,
you're limited by the functionality of what that pedal does, and like, I mean, if you know how to get into circuitry and start messing with it, then yeah. But definitely, if there was a trading service for pedals and other gear. One question though about synths, analog synths in particular.
Are we literally about to ask the same question right now?
No, mine's really nerdy, and I don't know.
All right, go for it.
But it's like, how long do you spend tuning them? Because I heard you have to tune them.
It depends on how old the piece is. Like most anything that was made in the past 10 years tunes itself for the most part.
Nice.
But if you've got older stuff, you do have to tune it. Like I was just at a friend's studio last night, and he has a Korg Prologue, and he was complaining about how long it takes to tune because every time you turn it on, it takes probably 10 to 15 seconds to tune itself. And he was like complaining about it. I'm like, yeah, but it tunes itself. Like it's who cares, And so that is a thing if you have some older equipment, but most modern stuff will tune itself.
All right, so this is going to be a much more ignorant question. I get that they're instruments, and I get that instruments need to be tuned, but why do you need to tune a synthesizer?
If you have an analog synthesizer, like it's an all analog signal. Like it's not digital. It's from capacitors and circuitry that it changes with heat and different variants in the environment. So it's kind of like it's a bad analogy, but kind of like a guitar. If you bring a guitar into a room that is a different temperature, it can affect the tuning of it.
Yeah, I've had that happen, so I understand the reference.
Yeah, so it's similar because it's not like a computer. It's like a laptop where you have to change it depending on it, what the environmental effects are. And it's not always, environment that will change the tuning. It's just anything because it is all analog. So you need to have a bit of calibration to it. I mean, I'm not like a synth expert or anything, but that's the gist of it.
Fascinating for those of us who don't speak nerd. Another question I had was, in your world, this is one of my favorite questions. I got this from Tim Ferriss, and I've used it in almost every interview and only gotten one answer. What is a tool or item cheaper than $100 that has changed your world over the last year?
Under $100.
And now that we know that thing about your Foley adventure, that doesn't count. Your Chex Mix bowl.
Hold on, let me think. As far as work goes,
does it have to be work, Nate, or can it be life too?
It could be life.
Oh man,
Because life is art.
Life is art.
I have a feeling this is going to be another one of those questions that when I think about it more, I'm going to come up with like a really good answer.
We'll have like an itemized Instagram post, and it's like at timestamp 1 minute and 18 seconds. This is the answer.
Yeah, no,
I just come back to it later.
We got a lot of movies to watch tonight, so if you remember it, just shoot him a DM.
Man.
I do want a picture of your Foley bucket, though. I would love to post that.
Oh, hold on. I'm grabbing it. Talk for 1 second.
Now I got Erase Me stuck in my head. Oh, shorts too. Nice. I'm in shorts because I have no jeans. Wrong.
What?
Okay. So it's just
That's
Just
awesome.
that.
Heck yeah.
it's not
I'll just-
nothing special.
I'll just grab it. I'll grab a screenshot of that when I go to edit it. That's fantastic. Is that a Wayne's World product placement for your dusted Chex Mix?
Oh, it stinks now. Goodness gracious. I'm not opening that up again.
Dude,
Okay.
that happens to my protein shaker sometime. If I don't get to it, it just smells so
Oh
bad.
yeah, you've got a solid like 2 hours to rinse those out before they start to turn for sure. No, things under $100 that have changed a lot. I can't think of anything. Yep, I've got something, but I can't show you because
You can just tell us about it.
Yeah, because my laptop is actually sitting on it. But there's a company that makes 3D printed stands for different pieces of equipment. On Instagram, they're called 3D Studio Furniture. So I had this thing where I wanted to have my laptop. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cha-ching. But I wanted to have my laptop on my desk in a specific angle, and I wanted to be able to like have really good airflow under it because you know the stuff that I do, it's a beast on CPU, and my stuff gets really hot. So I wanted it angled up in a specific way, and you know be able to see the screen in a specific way. And I hit this company up, and they 3D. They 3D printed this stand specific for my laptop, and it was less than $100, and
That's awesome.
and now I'm gonna get one for I actually got one also. I don't know, probably won't be able to see it, but my SEO2 right here.
Yeah.
I got another stand from them for this because that's normally not upright. It's a flat thing, but I wanted it upright. So now whenever I get pieces of equipment that I want to have a stand for, I just hit up that company and they ask for the dimensions of the piece of equipment, and then they just 3D print a stand. They ask how you want it, and yeah, so that's I don't know if I would say it's life-changing, but it's very convenient to have everything set up the way that I want it, and it's not super expensive.
That is really cool.
That is pretty. And a follow-up to that question, do you have anything that you take on tour that you can't live without and that has gotten you through, you know, your touring life? Is there an item, like a book?
It is the worst answer in the world, but
Duct tape.
my phone, like I use my phone for literally everything on tour. Like, especially now, like, because we've been touring for a long time, but you know, I use my phone to find food. I use my phone to find coffee. I use my phone to see my family. I use my phone to work. I mean, it's such a bad answer because everybody does everything on their phone. But like, if I'm thinking about, I can go on tour, I can bring my instrument and literally only one other thing, it would be my phone. Aside from my phone, because maybe that's a cop out answer. I think a really good pillow is just a lifesaver on tour. Because
is that a Tempur-Pedic or is it filled with feather? Is it feather down feathers?
No, it's one of those like Tempur-Pedic-esque pillows. But what's funny is it was my dad bought this like really expensive bed, and they included the pillow with the bed, and he hated it. And I happened to stay at his house one night when we were on tour, and I was like, yo, this pillow's awesome. And he was like, oh, I hate it. I was like, can I take it with me on tour? He was like, yeah, you can have it. So I just took it from his house, and that's now my my pillow when I'm on tour. Because when I'm on tour, I kind of have to be as much of a back sleeper as possible, because it's good for my neck, but also the bunk is not long enough for me to sleep on my stomach, and sleeping on your stomach's bad in general. But my back and my neck take a beating in general. So if I can just wake up and I'm not in any pain, that's a great thing. So a very expensive good pillow.
Nate, you're gonna love me, because guess what I have for you?
A nice pillow.
A nice pillow.
Can I have it?
Aw, look at that. That's friendship right there.
I've heard I snore when I sleep on my back, so I can't really do that anymore.
Your soon to be wife tells you that?
Yeah,
my girlfriend tells me that. He's getting married here soon.
Congratulations!
I'm invited
at the end of May.
All right, congratulations. So end of May, hopefully you'll actually be able to have like a legit gathering of folks at that point, hopefully, right?
Budget still restricts it a little bit, but yeah, we're having about 40, 45 people.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's a good size.
The only thing I'm a little disappointed about is the price of wedding DJs. They're like $1,500 to $3,000.
Well, I know a guy who will do it for $14.99 plus a plane ticket. I'm not saying who he is. However, no.
Nate,
no,
would that be your dream?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I could get a plane ticket, it's like, Bruna, the budget is blown, but
but here's the thing: we'll have a guy who will play a very mediocre playlist of
and headbang the whole time
and hang out. No, we didn't do a DJ at all at our wedding, because we just didn't want to pay the money for it, and I just made a really good like 5-hour playlist of music, and it just played, and it was.
Do you still have access to that?
It was on an actual CD, so I don't think I do anymore. But for a very small fee, I could create a very similar playlist. No, because when we got married, my wife's parents said we will either pay for the wedding or we'll pay for the honeymoon. You get to choose whichever you want. So we were like, yo, let's just like
cheap out,
have like a pretty cool wedding, and we'll pay for it, and then just ball out on a honeymoon. So that's what we did, and it was a very good decision. Like we had this restaurant called Sonny's Barbecue cater it. It's just like a chain barbecue place from down here. They catered it. We had no DJ. I think there was like 100 people there. It was outside. It was like perfect. But then we got to ball out at our honeymoon, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, we're doing ours a little bit later. I think we're going to Southern California and doing a road trip. So.
I still need to get you that wedding gift. So, however much that small fee is, we'll see.
There we go. Wink. I mean, a nice Tempur-Pedic pillow. Wink.
Oh. Well, I have to buy two. I can't just buy one. I have to buy two.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it shows I love Nate more. Ooh. Sorry, Bruna. You're a lovely person, and I know you'll treat my Nate here very well, even though he's one day older than me, that bastard.
Yeah, we found out that I'm literally a day older than Phil, and I never let him forget it.
Well, you look like 500 younger. That's great. You're doing awesome.
I'll take it.
Or speaking of people who like to come with Foley sounds.
Yes.
Hashtag fart noise.
Hashtag fart noise. I knew there was a reason I wanted to wear this shirt today, other than I love Bob's Burgers, but also
all I see is Archer. I saw Archer first, and that's who H. John Benjamin is to me.
I don't know if I should admit this, but I have not seen an episode of either of those shows. I know.
All right, we're gonna do this thing where I pitch my show and Phil pitches
now.
his show, and we'll see which one Chris likes more.
Okay. All right, go for it.
Archer is if James Bond was Michael Scott.
Oh, that's a great pitch. I don't know if you can beat this one.
It's basically like The Office and James Bond had a baby, but it's animated.
Okay.
See, the thing I know about Bob's Burgers is the gif of whatever her name is doing like the twerking. That's basically what I know of Bob's Burgers.
Tina, the sexually charged daughter of.
Yeah, she seems really cool.
Tina's cool.
Tina's cool. A very nice lady.
Let's see.
Girl.
Bob's. Do you like quirky, sort of Simpsons-esque cartoons where you should expect the unexpected and enjoy the
And I feel like what if James Bond was Michael Scott was very to the point.
I was like,
this is
I
a
think you
little
just lost it.
pandering.
I couldn't come up with something good. Just fart noise.
You're gonna remember it. You're gonna think of something later, and you're like, "Damn, I should have."
At timestamp 126, Phil remembers his pitch for Bob's Burgers. But yeah, so the voice actor who plays the lead character in both is the same, and so for a lot of people, they can't watch one or the other because they were exposed to the opposite one first.
Got it. That makes sense.
The guy that plays Archer and the guy that plays Bob is the same dude, and so you hear one or the other depending on which one you.
Well, that guy's just rolling in that animation money, then, huh?
He is, because he was doing H. John Benjamin Has a Van, which I don't know if people remember, but I remember.
Never even heard of it.
It was on Comedy
Exactly.
Central mid to late 2000s, I believe.
Never heard of it.
And he was also in Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, I love that movie.
He was the talking
so
can.
Oh, okay. Well, that was not the character I was thinking of, but hey, I love that movie. And Stabler from what is that? Law and Order Special Victims Unit. He was the chef that humps the fridge. Yeah.
Christopher Maloney. I totally forgot he was in that.
Looks
He was
nothing
also,
like any of his animated
He was also
characters.
Casey Jones, right? In Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Yep. See what's funny, did I just blow your brains off? Yeah. See, what's funny is my wife loves SVU and she loves Chris Maloney from that show. And she hadn't seen Ninja Turtles since she was like a kid. And we were watching it with our son the other day and I was like, "Oh, your guy's about to show up." And she's like, "Who?" And I was like, "Oh, you don't know who's in this movie?" And she's like, "What?" And then Casey Jones shows up and she didn't recognize him at first. She's like, "Wait, who?" Because he's got long hair. And so she's like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Listen to him talk." And she goes, "Oh, Stabler."
That's when you needed the ba-boom.
Love it.
I always that sound.
So now you have to go back and watch that just so
Yep.
you can see Chris Maloney being
Yep.
Casey Jones.
We're just going to watch H. John Benjamin highlight reels.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Chris, I think this has been a fantastic evening.
It has been a great evening.
One for the record books.
Really,
Definitely one for
this
the
is
record
this is
books.
definitely the longest episode we've ever recorded.
I ramble.
so far.
Sorry.
No,
That's-
dude,
no.
it's perfectly fine.
Partially my fault.
I love picking your brain about like the technical side because I don't know anything about it. And a little background on this whole project. It's actually his idea.
What?
I'm just the marketer.
Huh? What?
There we go.
He approached me, I don't know, about a year and a half ago about doing a podcast series on artists and give them a platform to talk about their fields. And I'm more of a technical person, so I like learning about like how they do what they do and why they do what they do. and your
Let's just clear the air here. I'm a feelings guy.
I back that.
I like introspection and I like feelings.
and
Why
so
do you feel this way?
he was just like, have you had a chance to talk about what you do yet? Like, has anybody taken the time to listen to you? Do you feel heard?
How does this make you feel?
Right, exactly. This is for posterity. And then
You know what would be cool, just from an outsider's perspective, is if you kind of expanded what you viewed being an artist is. Like if you could find like a really good chef, if you could find like maybe I don't know, something like
I've been trying to push Nate into more like obscure art forms. We've had a hat maker on.
I was gonna say the most obscure thing.
Oh,
I think
that's
we've
great.
done. This dude is like, he makes like leather wide brim hats from scratch with like a blowtorch.
That's great. I've always said that if there's an expert in any field, I could listen to them talk about it for hours, like no matter what the field is. So yeah, I don't know. Chefs,
I'd like to get a graffiti artist in here.
You should listen to our episode with Austin. His side hustle is reselling vintage Star Wars action figures.
Nice. I back that.
Yeah. Like we went on for what, like 30, 40 minutes just talking about like the underground Star Wars action figure market. It was great.
Is there an underground synth market? I think so. And you know about it, but you don't want to say anything otherwise.
I don't want to lose my contact.
Y'all, brand name is, we'll call it Synth Swap.
There you go.
For trademark.
Trademark,
yeah,
trademark that.
you're the marketing guy. You get this thing started, and then I just want to use it. So yeah, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
You'll be our first subscriber.
I just want to make it look like Tinder and have the Moog next to a give me another synth name.
Nah, dude, we just use
like
Moog and then
Tascam.
Never mind.
Korg.
Thank you. Yeah, Korg.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a little closer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Magic gone.
Dope.
Well, thanks for that pro tip or that tip.
Hey,
we're gonna
One. This was
you know?
all gold.
This was gold.
Well, thank you guys for doing it. I
on the
appreciate it.
ceiling.
You were a gentleman, a scholar, and a big here. I want to say like hero inspiration. Your work.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Your work with
Handsome
Underoath.
Yeah.
And
I will say the best Christmas present I've ever gotten is my little sister. I asked for it on like this. We all made a shopping list and drew names. It's an original vinyl pressing of "Lost in the Sound of Separation."
Ooh,
yes,
that's not easy to find.
No, and it's what I put on when I've like had a bad day. So I appreciate you for that. And
oh, dude, well,
when
thank you.
You had a bad day. You're taking one down instead.
Well, now
that
we talked about John Murphy so much earlier, go back and listen to the 28 Weeks Later score, and then listen to the last song of "Lost in the Sound of Separation," and you'll know exactly what I was. That's
awesome.
What I was going for there, and I messaged him that and told him that I was like, "Hey, thanks for."
Did he get back to you?
Yeah, he did.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
which I freaked out about. He was
like, oh
he was
my
basically just like oh, that's cool. Thanks for sending it over. 'Cause I just sent him and I was like, hey, you're directly responsible for this. I was listening to nothing but your stuff while I was writing this, and now it's very apparent. But
do you not to name any names? You don't have to, but I would really like you to. Do you know of anybody like working nowadays that you just think is like super overrated?
Overrated? Don't
Yes.
you mean like underappreciated or
No, we can get to that one next.
Oh, okay. Give us someone overrated. Give us someone underappreciated that more people should know about.
oh boy, I mean overrated.
Someone you just like can't understand like the hype behind.
You, Nate, as a podcaster, I can't get over it.
See, I'm not good at
So
that
overrated.
because I'm very I'm very of the mind that everything is not for everyone, and if there's something that's super popular and a lot of people love and I don't like it, it's not so much I think they're overrated. It's more so just that's not for me. Like
That's the conversation I have with my younger brother about Apple all the time. He's like, "Why don't you just get a PC? They're cheaper." I'm like, "You're not their target market. You won't get it."
Yeah, it's all subjective, you know. Like I wouldn't say that anybody is overrated. Like, because if somebody, like, music wise, you know, if they're doing really well and a lot of people like them, I don't see how that could be like overrated. It's just like, hey, they're making stuff that people like. Underrated, that's a whole different story, because I think there's a ton of artists that are great that just people don't listen to a lot. There's this one artist that I'm just super into lately named Ethel Cain. She has an EP that's about to come out. She's got a couple singles out now. I'm hoping to do something with her in the very near future, or just throwing around an idea. But I really love what she does.
That's not the same guy. No, it's definitely not the same guy.
Okay. All right. Sorry, just looking up your Underoath profile on Spotify. It was in there for a second.
Got it. Okay.
I'm actually looking up Ethel.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ethel Cain's great. I've been listening to her stuff a bunch. I don't think underrated, but Colin Stetson, he's very not underrated, because anybody who knows who he is recognizes he's a genius. But I think everybody needs to know who he is, and not everybody does. So Colin Stetson, Ethel Cain. I mean, I don't know, lots of bands that do great stuff that people just don't. Hold on. I'm gonna open up my music real quick.
Yeah, and when we make your guest page on our website, we'll have a spot for you to put like a podcast or a Spotify playlist.
Vane. There's a band called Vane and a band called Loathe. I think
Loathe
those
is
are two.
Fantastic.
Yes, they're two of the best heavy bands I've heard in forever. Like, I love both of those bands. And again, not underrated, because anybody who's heard them is like, oh, they're awesome. It's just, I think that they need to be huge, and I think a lot of people need to know who they are, and they're not huge right now. So
what do you think of I actually saw them with Wage War before Deadweight came out, and they were amazing. What's his name? Kahim? What's the lead singer's name?
I don't know. I don't really know anything about the dudes. I just really love their
I got to meet them afterwards, and they're all super solid. The album
we tried to get them for a tour we're doing next year, and
were they booked?
They're booked.
Did you just drop some not known knowledge?
I mean, I guess technically, but I mean, I would hope that people would know that we're gonna go back on tour at some point. Well, but we're booking a tour for next year.
Yeah, you just changed your branding to blue from green. So to all of those designers out there, that means new merch.
There's a lot of fun stuff coming.
Yeah.
Are we dropping new info? Oh man.
A band that's been on my replay list recently has been a band called Alpha Wolf.
I've never heard of them.
I'll have to listen to their album A Quiet Place to Die. It is genty and hardcore. I love it.
That's sad, man. A Quiet Place to Die. That's sad. No, I'm just kidding.
Did you ever listen to North Lane?
No, but I know that name from a lot of people who have mentioned them.
They're all very like this generation in their sound and lyrics, but they're carrying the torch very well.
Nice. Yeah, no, I have not jammed them much, but I'm sure I've heard them before, but I don't listen to a ton of heavy music. I'm very I think it's the same with heavy music as it is with anything. Like, I think 90% of most things are not good, according to me. Like, whatever it is, rock music, heavy music, movies, any sort of art. I think there's a lot more not good stuff than good stuff. But good and not good is obviously all subjective. I really like that newest Neon Trees album. I think that is just, if you're into just good driving pop music, it's really good.
We should listen to that on the way to the B-Dubs, Phil.
We can listen to that on the way to B-Dubs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good getting ready for B-Dubs music for sure. Just, it'll make you feel good. Ready to pound your stomach with wings.
Are you a celery? No, not a celery or carrots person. Like when B-Dubs is like, you want celery or
I'm
carrots?
a chicken wings person.
No. There you go. You heard it first.
Second question is blue cheese or ranch?
Ranch. I don't like blue cheese on anything.
Blue cheese goes on everything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't belong anywhere.
Just like I like the Chariot and you like whoever we were arguing about today. Did you forget? I think we have to go back to our text messages.
I guess he doesn't like him very much. Chariot wins, huh?
Beartooth.
Shout out to the Chariot.
Beartooth dropped a new single
Oh,
today.
that's apples and oranges, though. I mean, they're not. I wouldn't compare the two.
If you
I
compared
love
like
them
the
both.
Chariot to O Sleeper, I would get it, or Chariot to early Normagene, I would get it. But they're very different artists.
That's okay. Now we're talking. If you want to compare that.
There we go.
Now that we're on the, we've opened the hardcore
I thought we were
music
gonna
can
wrap
of
this up
worms.
here soon, but I guess not. I don't.
Oh, hey, we were, but that's okay.
Yeah, I would. I'm fine to talk more, sir. I don't.
This is the last episode of our. So we're doing it in seasons. We borrowed the Netflix method. So we dropped 8 episodes as a season, and then we're doing another 8 episodes as our season 2. And we had some technical difficulties with our last guest for season 2, so you're gonna wrap it up. So a longer episode would make for a great season finale.
Let's hope my my recording here isn't all messed up, huh? Oh, I'm still going. Okay, great.
I'm keeping an eye on. So our video camera didn't roll for like the entirety of our runtime. So I'm like keeping an eye on our little red light over there.
Yeah, don't mess it up.
So do you have? I mean, for someone that has toured as much as you guys have, do you have like any like horror stories from going on tour, like that stick out to you? I always love hearing about like stuff that went wrong.
So probably the biggest thing for me personally was we were on tour in South Africa, and we had a South African tour. It was like a week long, and then we went straight to Australia after that. And we were in the airport after our last South Africa show, getting ready to get on the plane, and I was just feeling super sick. And I went to the bathroom, and it was a war zone, like just coming out of both ends. Just like I was like feeling super lightheaded, and I was like pale, and it was like the worst. And then as I'm coming out of the bathroom, you know how the airport bathrooms, like there's no door, you just kind of walk around that little thing in the middle.
Yep.
I was in the middle of walking around that, and I just passed out in the doorway. I don't know how long I was out, but I woke up and people are just like walking over me, like nobody had even like stopped, and I couldn't get up. So I texted our guitar player. I was like, "Hey, like I'm on the ground at the bathroom. I can't get up. Can you come get me?" So they ran down and came and got me. And long story short is the plane was leaving in like 15 minutes, and the stewardesses were not going to let me get on the plane in the condition I was in, rightfully so.
Right.
But I didn't want everybody else to have to, because those are expensive flights, so I didn't want everybody else to have to reschedule. So luckily the promoter for the shows was at the airport, so they said, "Hey, everybody else get on the plane, go to Australia. We'll stay with him here." I had to stay in the airport hospital, like the one that's in the airport. And then I got a direct flight to Australia, which is great because everybody else had to fly through Hong Kong, which it was like a day and a half of flying. But then I got a direct flight, and I got to the venue literally like the changeover had happened, and it was just like a quiet stage for like 20 minutes while they were waiting for my cab to get there from the airport. So I got right in just in time.
Oof.
And
That's
ridiculous. And I didn't die, so that was good. But that was no fun.
I was afraid you were going to turn into one of the aliens from District 9.
That would have been pretty sick, though.
You like just pass out after stopping in South Africa.
Talk about an underrated film.
We're getting number 2.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What?
Yeah.
Blomkamp just tweeted that they're getting number 2. They started working on District 10.
Yep. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yep. So you can't live without your phone on tour. Do you have any like pieces of like tour specific advice for like as the world comes back to normal, when people are going to start touring again? There's a lot of up and coming bands that have been in like a gestating period with their writing processes and are about to start going on tour for the first time in a while. What would you tell someone in that position?
I mean, I don't think it's really anything different than what I would say normally, which, the way that we always approach being on tour and playing in general is just play as if you have to prove everything to everyone. Like, that's kind of how we've always looked at it, is like, we want to go out and just like destroy. Like, I mean, I just think that's a good mentality to have in general. Like, pretend as if you even if you do, like, have a mentality of like, we have to like prove that we're worthy of being on this stage. And yeah, I mean, just go hard. Like, I think that's, no matter what kind of music you're playing, just like do it as well as you can do it. And, because there's something about live music and there's something about performing that if you have a good show and you're able to connect with people, like that's a connection that lives long beyond like somebody hearing a song on Spotify and be like, oh, this is a pretty cool song. Like if they can experience what that song is supposed to be live, that'll be something in 10 years, they'll hear the song and be like, oh yeah, I remember when they played this live. Like that's, I know what this is supposed to feel like. And that's something that you can't really get just listening. So, I'm a big proponent of that. So that would be my piece.
I thought your answer would be like deodorant, guys.
Oh, that's
please
big
bring
too.
Deodorant, a lot of it.
Yeah, baby wipes for sure.
Baby wipes. We hear that a lot.
I heard baby wipes. I heard dryer sheets once for like your bag of dirty laundry, so that it doesn't smell. Yeah.
I say just stink. Play a dirty show, stink, go hard, continue to stink. It'll put hair on your chest.
And money in your pocket.
Face.
So much money. So much money. Everybody knows that's why we get in this business, right? Just to make all the money.
Well, I was going to follow that up with like 20 years down the road because of royalties, but you're not going to make anything right away.
Oh, hell, you're not getting royalties either. Don't fool yourself, son.
Nobody's playing Underoath on a sitcom, just throwing that out there.
That's what we need. We need to get on commercials,
right?
Get that real money. Super Bowl commercial money.
Maybe we can try to get that happen.
I definitely think you guys are headed in the right direction, though. I must say.
We'll see.
With the last album, I think you guys are heading in the right direction.
Oh, well, the new one might throw a wrench in that, so we'll
thank
see.
God. I will say, when On My Teeth came out, I was running every morning, and it was the perfect tempo, because I'm really short, so like my legs are really short. And it was the perfect tempo for like a 7.5 mile run. And I like toyed with it on the speed of the treadmill to find that right beat. And I would play through it a couple times and it got me through like a 10-minute run.
Oh, I love it.
It was the exact tempo for like a 7 mile an hour run, which was great.
That's great. That in general, that song was the genesis of that song was just. When I came up with the intro, it was literally me thinking, what would have the best energy to open a set with? Like, what would I want to just like be on stage playing and like feel the most like psyched? So yeah, the fact that you would run to it or anybody would exercise to it, like that's perfect. That means that we did our job.
Yeah. So when we saw
it's crazy that your guys' music ended up in video or sports video games.
Yeah.
According to IMDb, you did. Don't know how much you got paid.
Was it on Madden?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's some Madden games. Yeah, I think an ATV or snowboarding game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how all that stuff works. That's we would just get told that stuff. Like, hey, your song's on this or this, and we're just like, oh, okay.
And then you forgot to ask for. Sorry.
Here, oh yeah. Hey, give me that money, son. I'm sure somebody got paid for something. I don't know. I just play the keyboard and try not to screw up.
Did you also play a tom on stage as well during your Erase Me tour?
I think that was Tim.
Yeah, I have two. Basically, just play because there's like auxiliary percussion stuff on some of the Erase Me stuff, some of the Lost in the Sound of Separation stuff. And then like one song on Define the Great Line.
You play percussion too, so don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, there we go. You could say I'm a multi-instrumentalist.
Boom. Get that Wikipedia page in check there.
Yeah, somebody take care of that for me.
So when you were first brought on, we talked earlier about playing keyboard less bad than guitar. At what stage in your like evolution did you switch from simply playing keys to being more of like a synthesizer artist in like the electronic space more than, simply playing like an electronic piano?
I honestly don't know. Like I think that it was just a general progression really from the get-go. Just kind of trying to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like as far as electronics go. I can't say there was really a turning point. It was more so just, a steady years-long, decades-long evolution of like, okay, I like this, I don't like this. Like, I like this piece of equipment, I don't like this piece of equipment, and trial and error. I think that's with anybody who does anything creative. You just kind of, you find your lane and you find out, things you like and things you don't like, and you continue to learn. And, in that way, I don't think it was really any different than the way anybody does anything.
So were you brought on for the writing process of Chasing Safety?
No, I was brought on right after there was an EP that Underoath released when I was in high school called Active Depression.
I remember.
And then I was brought on right after that, still in high school.
So Changing of
we
the
did
Times?
No, it was called Cries of the Past. We did that album when I was a sophomore or a junior in high school. We did that one.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, we did that one, and then Changing in Times, and then Thoroughly Chasing Safety, and then we went on from there.
So when did it
I'm having a moment. I'm just having a moment here. Nate, continue.
When did it click for you that was going to be a viable? Because you mentioned that like you guys realized that this is going to be like a career option. When did that like click for you like mentally, and you're like, oh, I can do this for work and get paid for it?
It wasn't until toward the end of the cycle of They're Only Chasing Safety. That was the time when we, because that record, when it came out, it wasn't like gangbusters, like chart topping. It was more so it did well, but then it just continued to do well for multiple years. Like it didn't really slow down at all. So it was like a steady build of us realizing during that record cycle, like, oh wow, like we're like able to pay our own bills, and we're able to, pay rent, and, we're actually like making money doing this rather than paying to do it. So that was really, so I would say it was, mid 2004, late 2004, that we really realized, that was the first time that we really made anything from doing this. And, then we realized like, oh, like we can just continue to do this maybe. And we just did. So yeah, it was years of doing it and paying to do it and not making anything. And we weren't trying to like make it per se, like, because that was never really even a thought. Like bands that had like careers, that was not something that we even viewed as being possible. It was like, oh, that's what other bands do. Like those bands on the big stages at the fest, like that's what they do. Like we just like play our music, and it just kind of happened. And super thankful for it, but I also recognize it's not common.
I mean, is that a good mentality for a young musician or a young band to have, or any artist in general? It's like, I just want to do this because I like doing this, and not.
I think that should be the mindset in general. Like I know bands that have a mentality of, we want to be the biggest band in the world, but they also love it. Like they love their music, they love playing, but there's also an element of like, we want to be bigger than the Beatles. Like that's the mentality behind it. And I don't think that's necessarily bad if you believe in the music and if you are passionate about what you're doing. But if you're sacrificing what it is that you do because you think it's what people want to hear, that's where I think, stuff just sounds stale. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to do well. I would just say for my happiness and my experience in doing this, if we ever had a mentality other than we're going to write a record that we really like and put it out and hopefully people like it, then we would not be in a good spot. Yeah,
I
so
could.
I would just
I mean, I can hear it in your music. I can definitely hear that in your music.
Yeah, and that's really all our goal has ever been is just, we write what we like, and if people like it, great, and if they don't, that's fine. But we figure if there's anything that we're doing that all of us are like super pumped on, there's going to be other people somewhere that are pumped on it as well, hopefully. And so far it's worked out well. So, hopefully we can just continue to do it, but who knows?
Did you guys, I'm going to go back to the Chasing Safety album cycle. What do you...
That's not his favorite. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, it was the first one.
That's my favorite.
It paved the, way for the mainstream success of Define the Great Line. So that album came out at a time when like Paramore was really popular and Fall Out Boy was really popular, but you guys, like, in my opinion, were in the same arena, like of like that mall, like Hot Topic music.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I mean,
I heard Underoath playing in Hot Topic and Spencer's, no pun intended.
Oh, I know, but I'm not.
Did you guys like, what do you think clicked with fans that wanted something a little bit harder?
It was really a thing where I remember when we were working on Define the Great Line, because after They're Only Chasing Safety did as well as it did, everybody was saying, our label was like, hey, like, lean into the melodic stuff, lean into the big choruses. Like, you guys could be the next whoever. Like, you're just ready to pop. You just have to, if you do this, you will pop and be huge. But we didn't want that. Like, we were just, wanting to do something darker. We wanted to do something heavier. And I've said this before, but I remember specifically having a conversation with Spencer after we got out of the studio doing Define the Great Line. And I told him, I was like, I am so proud of this record and I'm so stoked on this record, but there's going to be a lot of like pissed off 13-year-old girls because this is not like what people were wanting necessarily, that we were being told anyway. But, that record came out and ended up being like number 2 on Billboard, and the reception was great. And, I think to this day that's looked at as, one of our, if you want to use the word like seminal records, like, people really like that record. And I think people connect to that record because, again, just because of that mindset that we had of just like, we don't care what people want to hear. Like, we're going to do the thing that stokes us out. And that is just, that's what we do.
I agree, Nate. I agree with all of that.
There we go.
I just rock They're Only Chasing Safety in my glove box on CD. I have all of your CDs up until Lost in the Sound. Yeah, I rocked They're Only Chasing Safety for like a decade in my glove box.
Well,
in
thanks.
my car. It was one of my albums that got me through high school. So,
and that's part of why I'm able to do this as a career. So I appreciate that. Hey, salute, cheers, right?
Yeah,
freaking A.
Fine.
And then fart noise.
Fart noise.
That's what we need to add in here. Like my other podcast, I try to
noises.
Put in. Have you listened to my other podcast?
Just the first episode.
How was it?
It's okay.
Did you like my sound clips for comedic effect?
I'm a little salty at the fact that you hijacked my studio without telling me.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. He was.
Should I leave you guys alone to
his studio?
To work this
you
out?
Mean half of your studio, half of your studio, and I was gonna come cuddle with you afterwards when you got home.
Oh, this is taking a turn.
Tempting. Anyway, the B-Dubs is calling my name. As much as I am enjoying this conversation, Chris, I fully expect to see you guys on tour shortly, and
we'll be there just like two teenage girls.
No, hit me up when that tour is announced, and we'll figure out where we're going to be close to you guys, and let's definitely hook up and we'll grab B-Dubs and listen to Neon Trees on the way.
Dude, God, so many tangents.
It's a date.
It's a date, yes.
So I remember
no hot wings,
Fart noise.
no
No.
celery, no carrots,
and no hot
and I'll
wings.
bring the Neon Trees record.
So I went to see Dayseeker 2 years ago, and I was meeting up with a bassist. He's a friend of mine, and they had there's a beat up like right across the street, and they had just done the hot wings challenge, and I could see the death on Rory's face during the entire set, because they had the hottest wings and went like 30 minutes before that, and then just went right into their set, and then they played a show. I just
Never B-dubs before a show. That's
No.
Yeah,
Your GI track's not going to thank you. Your butthole's not going to thank you. The person
Love
that
it.
has to get on that mic next is not going to thank you. Is this Asian Zing? What?
garlic parmesan.
Yeah. Nope.
Nice.
What's next?
man.
Awesome.
What's next?
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, guys.
Yeah,
I
dude.
appreciate it.
Oh
I
my gosh.
love digging
Yes.
on the film scores and the horror movies that I've now had to add to my list.
Oh,
Well,
God.
yeah, I've got like four of the films I've done are coming out this year, so maybe we can do this again after this stuff is out, and we can nerd out some more.
Dude, that'd be awesome. And
Can
when
we
you-
host your watch party?
Sure.
If you ever have an online watch party, we could stream it. And we could be the host.
I'll tell whoever's in charge of that. I'll be like, hey, I know some guys.
and I would love to do an album review when that comes out.
Ooh.
And talk to you about it. 'Cause
Ooh.
Well, no pressure for me then, huh?
no, if there was so much of your work on Erase Me just coming through, and I would love to, if it keeps along that trajectory, to talk about the
Which
the
is up.
synths.
It's always up, man. The
Yeah,
trajectory is up.
yeah, and there's new Underoath music coming too, so maybe we can riff on that.
I just get excited over here. That's all I'm
I
doing.
think we should hang up
I'm
before
broke.
Phil has
You
a heart
broke
attack.
me. You broke me. I'm broke.
Phil's gonna
Love
have
it.
a heart attack over here. Anyway, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Keep doing what you do, man. This has
Yes.
been Frame This Podcast, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in.
With Chris Dudley, the film composer and synthesizer, keyboardist from Underoath.
Programmer.
Thank you for having me.
Percussionist.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, stay
All
hungry
around
and stay
swell
creative. Stay safe, y'all.
Guy.